Hi, Steve.
Sheila, hello. How are you this morning?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Very good.
Very good.
Beautiful day. Beautiful day to be alive. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be alive. Breathing in and breathing out.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying it's a beautiful day because it's certainly not because of the weather here in Nova Scotia, is it?
No, we've had day after day after no sun, after
Yeah.
more no sun. Like we
Yes.
can't see the sun, but if you look at how bright it is out, a big chunk of the sun still gets through all those clouds and rain. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
So a beautiful day has nothing to do with the weather. Well, it might have something to do with the weather,
But
but when you're focused on gratitude, it's a beautiful day, whatever the weather. I think that's what Steve Foran is all about.
yeah, I mean, to me, finding the good. Like a year ago in June, we were like, if you remember when the fires were going on, we had a
Mhm.
week of plus 30 degrees Celsius, like not a cloud in the sky, and everyone like across the country and even across the world who knew about it was just praying and hoping and sending energy for rain, what we have right now. So it's like it's about really finding the good in whatever is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gratitude is. And I've recently trained in something called positive intelligence. And one of the tenets of that is who knows what's good or bad? Because
Yeah.
we very quickly label something as good or bad, and we're not patient with what can unfold from any of it. So yeah, I love the gratitude attitude, and uh, I'm so grateful that you agreed to come back for part two of a conversation because, as I mentioned to you earlier, I felt I missed an opportunity in our conversation, and that opportunity was around your statement that being an electrical engineer has to do with energy, but also gratitude has to do with energy. And it's like, wow, I want to know more about that. I want to know more about that energy of gratitude. So over to you, Steve. Where would you like to begin with that?
Well, I think there's a couple directions we can go. But as human beings, we know we're made up primarily of water.
Hmm.
Right? We're mostly water,
Hmm.
but we also somehow have electrical energy that runs through us. Our heart sends electrical, is an electrical device. And so we generate and produce and um, transform energy within our bodies. And even the food that we eat is converted into it. It is an energy source for our body. So if
It's
you
a
think
fuel. It's a fuel.
it is,
Food
so
is
it's
fuel. Yes.
everything,
Mm.
everything. Virtually, I believe everything in the world we can boil down to energy,
Hmm. Hmm.
one way or the other. And
Hmm.
so one of the things that I think I said something about I just engineer a different type of energy now, and
Hmm.
gratitude as that type of energy. And you said, well, that I think is the thing that you said. I missed that opportunity to dig
Yes.
deeper.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Um, if you think of positive thoughts, and how that impact it has on your physiology, your body. You
Hmm.
think negative thoughts, you get into a negative spiral.
Hmm.
Think of the impact that has on your body. That is a result of energy. Your brain is sending signals to your body, so it is energy. And we know that around us, we do have some sort of energy field around the movement of electricity. I forget which law it is. I forget more about electricity than I learned about it. That I forget more than what most people would ever want to know. Uh, But essentially, there's a force field around us.
Yes.
And one of the things that interested me or really struck me is that I was part of a group and we were given this exercise to do with divining rods, right? So essentially coat hangers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And throughout the entire space, there are electrical or magnetic fields, because what happens is when electricity is present, it creates a magnetic field around it. So when I say an energy field around our body, it really is a magnetic field around our body. And but the earth has a magnetic field,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how compasses work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we can make a compass work. Anyway,
Well, okay, cool. Cool.
so because it aligns with the magnetic field and it points us to north.
Mm-hmm.
So our bodies also have a magnetic field. And I've witnessed how my thought patterns, either being negative or positive, and gratitude contributes to positive thought, like a positive thought pattern,
Mm-hmm.
right? How that has an impact on when I walk with divining rods
Mm-hmm.
and how I move. And not just me, there was a group of us doing it. So it wasn't just my own personal experience.
You did an experiment? Is that what I'm
So
hearing?
essentially it was, we walked from one side of the room to the other, holding loosely in our hands these dividing rods. And as I'm walking towards you, Sheila, in the first condition, I'm thinking positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Be about you, my cash, my work, what's happening on the weekend, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And these divining rods, I can't remember if they go,
They
let's say they
open
go,
or close, yes.
right?
Yes.
And maybe they did one or the other. I don't remember which one they did. Then I come back and I think negative thoughts. That person who cut me off in traffic,
Mm-hmm.
that a customer who I thought was going to be a customer isn't a customer, or they didn't, why haven't they paid me yet? I start thinking all these negative thoughts, and the divining rods, instead of coming in, they go the other way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we produce a magnetic field. So as I approach you, whether you consciously realize it or not, my magnetic field, it touches you. You come in contact with it.
Mm-hmm.
And your magnetic field, your body, is going to sense what my magnetic field is doing, all because of my brain and what I'm thinking, right? And you're going to know that. And I also believe that if I'm thinking negative thoughts about an interaction, a person, or whatever the case is, if that's my dominant thought pattern, and it's not about you, Sheila, right? But if my dominant thought pattern about Sheila is, oh man, I got this and this and this, and we're going to do that. And then I show up and I'm like, oh, hey, Sheila, how you doing? You're going to see through it.
I'm not going to buy it.
I'm not going to buy it, right? You there's going to be something. You might not know why, but you're just going to know. And I've seen it with kids and adults. Some grown-ups, they don't like kids. Kids can sense it. They can sniff it out. They just know, right? Person doesn't
don't have to say it. The person can have the biggest smile and the nicest words, and the child is like, no, 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 get away from me. Yes.
And like, I'm not a dog person. I think dogs know it when I'm around. They seem to come to me and they make me uncomfortable. And I just like, so the energy around, so I really want to train my brain and it's not really not training I really want to show up in a way that I feel, that I would want to be read on the front page in the newspaper. That if the way I show up it was completely transparent, I would want it to be able to be seen by everyone in the world, right? And look, I'm not perfect. I have negative thoughts. I think crappy things about people. Why they like anyone else, but I really want to create a discipline to catch myself when I get into that negative thinking, because I know it has a ripple effect, even if it might not be intentional, whether you sense it or however it is. And even the person that says, no, I'm completely objective, great. But you can think whatever, we can think whatever we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if there's I can think there's no gravity, but
Yeah,
that
prove
doesn't change
that.
the fact there's
Yeah, prove
gravity,
that.
right?
Yeah, yes.
Anyhow, I've talked for a long time about this, went in a couple directions with it. So
Oh my goodness, it went in so many directions, Steve, and it's I mean, it's totally aligned with everything that I've learned and studied along the way. But you, first of all, you remind me that years ago when I was a child, I grew up in a very small community. We didn't have town water at the time. And my dad decided that we needed a new well. And he took a coat hanger and he went out and he found water. So water has energy. And yeah, everything has energy. And what I'm hearing you say is that our thoughts have energy, because we not only visualize what a person is doing, but as you say, at some sort of conscious or even subconscious level, our thoughts are connected. Like our minds don't need our bodies to communicate almost, right? Yeah,
yeah.
love it, love it. We're so on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, whether the water has energy or it provides a break because of its conductivity. So think of how it reshapes the magnetic field. When
Mm.
I worked at the power utility 30 years ago, there was always a concern about contractors digging and inadvertently coming into contact with high voltage underground power cables whenever they were working in and around cities. And
Mhm.
so we had a campaign, call before you dig. So if you're a contractor, a civil contractor, and you need to dig in an area, you're going to want to call Nova Scotia Power. They're going to come out today with this electronic device, and they're going to do sounding, and they're going to be able to identify exactly where any underground cables are.
Mm.
But when I was there in 1993, the fellas that used to go out and do this, because they were all fellas, they used divining rods.
Did they really?
They did. It's
In
like hard. It is
1993.
hard to believe it. And there was me and another engineer, and we said, what are the technicians using to identify where the high voltage cables are? And we were like, we can't continue to do this. We can't do this. And they were
Because
because we
it was
didn't have
dangerous.
it, because of the risk associated with it. And where is the science behind it? We didn't have any science behind it, right? It might have worked, but it was, there could be so many other things, because a sewer pipe also, even if the sewer pipe is empty, because it has, like a concrete sewer pipe would have metal reinforcing throughout it, that could be the trigger. So we were not confident and comfortable with people going out with a pair of coat hangers. I said, yeah, don't dig here. You can dig over there. And we were just like, no, we're not doing that anymore. But it was a reliable way for people to do that. And I used it to find my septic tank when I couldn't find it when we moved into house and had to get it cleaned out.
Wow. Wow. So despite the risks, at some level, it works.
It did. When you're in an excavator and you could be digging up 25,000 volts,
That's a little different.
It,
That's a little
the,
different.
the
Yes.
risk associated with it is a little different. So we needed to equip people with a little more advanced tools because we could afford to do it.
Well, yes, and it was a lot cheaper than a lawsuit if something catastrophic happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow, wow. It's just so fascinating, isn't it, that um, at some level we know that we're energy. We can feel each other's energy. Using your dog as an example, we can sniff each other out, so to speak, right? We
Yeah.
sniff each other out. We make it's almost a survival technique. So
I think water, I don't know, but I would say because we are so much water, our
yes, I
body,
think I've read
right?
95% or something like that. Yes.
So water is a very polar molecule. The way it's organized, you get the two oxygens or the two hydrogens and the oxygen. So it tends to be polarized, so positive on one side, negative. So it can shift. So if you think of the alignment of the water in your body when you're in um, a grateful, a positive state, imagine our molecules being in a type of alignment with each other. When we're in a negative state and we're going all over the place and we're in panic mode, the molecules, they respond differently, and I can see them being out of alignment. I've seen some photos of water molecules that are being that are taken from a cup of water of somebody holding positive thoughts, and you see these water molecules that are in alignment, and when they have negative thoughts, they're scattered and it looks like it's in chaos and disarray. And they show the same thing around food. And I mean, I don't know all the science around it, but when I cook, I think loving, caring thoughts. When I see TV shows that have chefs yelling and screaming, that's a restaurant I don't want to go to, because what I believe is that anger and tension gets put into the food, because the food is in this magnetic field that these people are emanating, and it affects the food. And that food is energy for our bodies. I don't think that's the type of food we want to put in our bodies. I think we want to put food that's been made with love and care and compassion. And I think that's going to feed us better. And all that is just what I believe. You know what I mean? So I'd like to say, here's all the evidence and science to it. I don't know where it is. So.
Well, there's a doctor, I was just searching on Google as you were talking. There's a Dr. Emoto somewhere in Asia, and he did experiments with water based on what you were just talking about.
Right.
And he used music and how classical music, the impact on water, and then
Wow.
certain violent music. I don't want to categorize right here. Right. But the impact that had on a glass of water. Now, based on what you and I believe, it makes perfect sense. Now, some people have not been able to validate his results, so therefore have not scientifically validated it. But based on what you said, it just makes so much sense. And it's almost like, and I want to talk to you about this, because as you were talking, I was thinking about negative thinking, even about ourselves. I'm exhausted, or I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm too short, whatever it is. To me, that impacts stress as well. We put stress on our body, and there's I've I've dabbled in a lot of things, Steve. And I do muscle testing around positive thinking and negative thinking. And it's so easy when you learn about muscle testing to understand that thinking, for example, I use my finger. And if I think of somebody that I don't especially respect, and, you know, I can think of a political person that I often use. And again, I don't want to say the name, but it weakens my body when I think about that person. And I can test it with my muscles. And when I think of my grandchildren and how much I love them, it actually strengthens my body.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's, as you say, it's all about energy, and the connection to our thinking is profound.
It really is. And
Yeah.
you know, we're humans, so we're going to go to the place. To me, it's about, when I go to the place, catch myself, like just bringing awareness to it, notice it, acknowledge it, and, you know, try to move myself back to where I know, to a place that I'm just going to say that I believe serves me better.
Mhm. Well, it serves yourself and the world.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, because it's more than, I really believe that every individual impacts the world, impacts the circle of people around us and that sort of thing. So, wow, wow. Um, so I'm curious, how many people have you served with your gratitude teaching, do you
I
think? How many thousands?
I don't know, like directly,
Mm, yeah.
100,000, a couple 100,000, you know, indirectly through the people that I know have taken it and continued to multiply it. I know we're in millions, but I don't know how many. And, you know, my dream is 1 billion happier people, you know, touched
Yeah,
through gratitude. And
yeah.
I've been saying, I'm not sure how to do it yet. I think that's getting a little old by saying that, and I'm still not quite sure how to measure it. But I've had someone who said, look at how viruses spread, because that's a good way to track it. Because this is something that, like an epidemic, that's how it's going to spread. So
Mm. Well, thank you for spreading.
I want
Seriously,
to,
it
yeah,
sounds it sounds dismissive when I say it like that, but it's not. It really is. I'm really grateful for what you're doing and continue to do, and I know it comes from love, really.
yeah,
Love is one of the most powerful gratitude
it is.
practices that we can have. Loving what is,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't look pretty or nice. It's like, how can I show up and be grateful and loving for this? Wow. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
And,
thank you. So thank you helping spread it a little more, Sheila. I really appreciate it.
well, it's my pleasure. And I encourage everyone to visit your website. It will be in the show notes, and sign up for the practice of gratitude. You make it so easy. You have a book. You have a website that allows anyone, anywhere, to go in and state 3 gratitudes or more a day. And
Yeah,
it's just a beautiful habit to develop. Yeah.
yeah, it really is. So if you're looking to strengthen, to start gratitude practice, you know, to strengthen the one that you already have, or maybe come back to the one that you used to have,
Mm.
join the daily gratitudes. Just go to our website, and love to have you as part of that community too. So thanks, Sheila.
Well, you're very welcome, because you not only, your gratitude practice, as you've so clearly articulated today, strengthens you as a human being. It strengthens, and it influences how you're showing up in the world and what you experience in the world. So it's
Yeah,
just powerful.
yeah,
Hmm.
it really is. And I'll give you. I just wrote an article yesterday, but it won't be out for a couple of weeks. And the idea is, I'll share it with you now. This whole idea is like, why should you have a gratitude practice? But it's think of, why do we encourage our kids to wear a helmet whenever they ride a bike? Why do we ensure that our coworkers have personal protective equipment on all the time? It's because we don't know when they're going to need it, right? And I'm going to say with a gratitude practice, something, oh, life's fine. You know what? You don't know when you're going to need it. And to me, the best time to start a gratitude practice is 20 years ago.
Yes.
The second best time, this is really corny, is today.
Yes, yes. It's like planting a tree. Well, yes, it builds immunity. What you're talking about is building immunity to the unexpected things that can show up, because it doesn't mean that nothing, quote unquote, bad will ever happen again. It's not about that. It's not about trying to control the world. It's about trying to show up and be present in a state of gratitude.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care. So don't tell anyone that, because it's not going to be out to the.
It's a secret. It's a secret. Not safe with me.